Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Photography Schoolhouse. And tonight, I want to talk about selling, pricing, and packaging your work. Now, if you're a commercial photographer, I'm not really going to be talking to you. This is more for the standard portrait studio, weddings, portraits, senior photography, things of that nature. So I want to talk to that group of photographers and give them some ideas of what they should be doing about selling and pricing their work. This is a very important part. I've seen so many photographers fail at this. I've been a photographer for quite a number of years, going into decades, and I can't tell you how many photographers I've seen come and go. I used to remark I'd go exhibit at a wedding show, and I go back a year later, and all the photographers I met the year before, most of them were gone, and a whole flock of new ones were in. It was just this constant turnover that we have in this business. So the biggest single reason for failure, other than marketing, is learning how to price and sell your work. So I'm also not addressing people who choose to be amateur photographers. That's awesome. I have nothing against that. I wish many times that I could just do that, just do the photography that I love, not have to worry about money. But this presentation makes the assumption that you're here to make money and run this as a business. That's where I'm at. I've been running a photography business for decades. I've been through a lot of changes, technology, business, social changes, and I've had to learn a thing or two. I've had to fail a couple of times. I don't mean going bankrupt or anything, but just had real struggles with my business, and then times when the business was going very, very well. So I want to share some of my thoughts about that. And the first thing is that if you're going to run as a professional, you're going to run a business, you've got to be properly compensated. You can't be duking it out with the bottom feeders in our industry. You do work hard at developing a style. You've probably bought a ton of equipment and software, and in many cases, like me, probably way more than I should have. You attend seminars, you go to conventions, you work on your skills, you master your trade, you market like crazy and try and find hard to reach customers. Now you got to get to the finish line. You got to make all of that work pay off. And I'll tell you, this is the point where most people fail. So we have to keep in mind that our first responsibility to our customers is to stay in business. Nobody wins if you have to close your doors or run with your tail between your legs, whatever. Poor never wins. Incorrect pricing drives more photographers out of business. And they didn't do it intentionally. They had good, honorable intentions when they started. I mean, every city probably has some sort of newspaper or radio station consumer trouble line. And how many times do we hear stories about photographers who have disappeared with somebody's wedding pictures or disappeared with money? Those people aren't natural born criminals, I don't think. I think they're just people that got in way over their head, couldn't see a way out. So I'm all in favor of not getting there in the first place. We deserve to make a legitimate income, and that's not just barely scraping by. I'm talking a legitimate professional income in line with other professions. Why should we make less? We put as much work into our education. Why should we make less than a plumber or a carpenter or, doctors, dentists, whatever? We are professional. We have overhead to pay, and we have the right to make an income. So this presentation is going to assume that you've already made your work worth something. I don't want to get into discussions about quality and everything else. I've said this 100 times. I've got 100 presentations on this. Get good or get out. is the bottom line of all of that. So I'm going to assume that you've taken the work and the effort to get good. And that's nonstop. That doesn't, you don't reach a point and say, whoo, finally I'm there, I can stop. You can't. You just continue to learn forever. But now, on top of all of that technical expertise that you've gleaned, you've got to learn how to sell. And this is a very confusing time in the evolution of photo studios. When I entered the business decades ago, it was simple. You took pictures, you made prints, you sold prints. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Now, digital has entered the marketplace. Low-end stringers have entered the marketplace ad nauseum. It's a confusing photographic world, and it's hard to navigate how to make a sale in this world. Now, let me define terms. I'll do this a couple of times. What I'm talking about is not marketing. Marketing is a whole other thing of which I've done other presentations on and will continue to do presentations on. This is once you have the customer, how do you make them buy? Because I'm sure we've all had people that came in, we had a great photo session, we did great work, and we blinked and they bought nothing or next to nothing. And there's, I think, quite a number of reasons why this happens. We're going to try and talk about what I think are the most effective ways of getting those customers to part with their money and buy something that's worthwhile. So part of the fact that people don't like to sell, I don't like to sell. I hate it. I will do anything to get out of it. So we all want to be lazy, and one of the laziest things you can do is put images online. So we do that. We got to remember that you got to get sales the way sales get got. You have to be a salesperson. So just how much do we need? How much do we need to earn to be a professional photographer, pay our bills, support our families, put our kids through college, take a vacation from time to time? Well, you want to be an amateur? You don't need any income at all. Nothing wrong, absolutely nothing wrong with having photography as a hobby. Fine choice. Want to be a learning pro, a pro wannabe? As long as you have another income source, you could do that too. Just take on part-time clients as you learn, as you build. You're probably going to need to bring in $10,000 a year minimum just to keep up with equipment and software that you have to buy and courses that you want to buy or seminars you want to attend. Assuming that your full-time income is paying the bills, 10,000 is not a lot. It doesn't go very far in terms of equipment replacing or buying that other lens that you want or lights or whatever. But to be a working pro, to do all of that, plus support a family, I'm thinking $90,000 up. 90,000 is kind of the low end of the scale. And what is the high end of the scale? Well, I've heard of studios. I've never done it myself, but I've heard of studios earning over $1 million. And we're not going to talk about those because I think, honestly, today, those are the exceptions, not the rules. But there are photographers, and a lot of them earning $90,000 and substantially more, 100,000, 200, 300,000 at their photography business. So let's not talk about the exceptions. Let's talk about the rule. You can't get there with bad pricing. That's the bottom line. Years ago, I was a wedding-only studio. I didn't do portraits or seniors or boudoir. I didn't do anything. I did weddings or nothing at all. That was my marketing strategy. And I came up with the principle that you have to have what I call the 35 at 3,500 rule. Wedding photography, as I say in bullet number 1, it is a mess. It always has been a mess. New photographers enter the marketplace. They charge $500 for wedding coverage, and they don't know what they're doing, and they're gone. $500 to them, that doesn't even pay for the equipment. They're gone in no time, but that's all right. For everyone that leaves, there's 5 more that replace them. So I would try and encourage photographers that I met, and I was teaching back in those days too. about the 35 at 3,500 rule. I felt that to be a full-time wedding photographer and make a professional income, I needed to book 35 weddings at a minimum of $3,500 every year. And that would do it. Most people, most of the stringers that enter the marketplace are nowhere near $3,500. They're $500, $700, $1,000. I say, don't do anything. You don't get out of bed for less than 3,500, and you have to do that 35 times a year. Well, is it achievable? Yeah. I routinely booked, as the slide says, I routinely booked way more than that. My personal peak was 65 weddings between $3,900 and $6,900. That's the package value. That's not any add-ons that they bought above and beyond the packages. I didn't want to be, there was a time in my life where I wanted to be a wedding studio with numerous photographers. I don't include that in this statement. This is when I got rid of all the extra photographers, and my attitude was, I'm only going to shoot what I can do personally, because getting into hiring stringers is a whole other nightmare that you don't want to go into. I should do a presentation just on that, I guess. So my personal peak, I could shoot 65 weddings in a year, and my minimum package was $3,900, went all the way to $6,900. No problem. We could do that, did it more than once. So can it be done today? Yes-ish. The wedding business has changed. All of photography has changed, but the wedding business has changed more than most. You can still do it. Lots of photographers do get a good dollar for their services, and that's a whole kind of approach in itself. Most of the rules are going to apply for the portrait studio. So the other thing in terms of pricing yourself, let's look at the market. Now, our little pie chart, no worry about the percentages. It doesn't matter whether it's 55% or 60 or 62.5. It doesn't matter. The vast majority of people in the world will not spend money on hiring a professional photographer. They just won't do it. So fine. Screw them. Who needs them? Bye-bye. Now, the more danger area are the green wedges. People that shoot, but then they won't spend. They say, oh, the pictures are so beautiful. I'll take a 5x7 of that. Thank you very much. You know, I can't live off selling 5.7s or 8.10s. Don't know about you guys. Or people that, you know, they spend very little. They think they're spending everything in the world if their order is $125. Well, sorry, but I still can't survive off $125 orders. There is, however, that rose-colored playground that we want to play in, which is the high end of the market. Everything else is a waste of time. The two green segments, if you want to exist in that market, you are going to have to put money aside for the insane asylum. And you're going to go broke. It's not a pleasant lifestyle to be in the green segments, scraping by, wondering how you're going to pay your mortgage or your rent or anything else. That's not what we're going for. We got to go for the high end of the marketplace. That's really all that's left, the rose-colored area. These are people who can spend and will spend on the correct work, if done the right way. Now, I'm not going to get into how to reach that. That's a whole world of things all by itself. So as I say on the slide, we did a production just actually, I think about a week and a half ago. Don't get clients, get the right clients. So go to, if you want to take down that address, I'm sorry you can't cut and paste from a broadcast like this, but I'll show you another way of getting there at the end. But that's going to talk about how you get the people in the rose-colored area. What I want to do now is sell to those people. So what's been lost in this age of technology is the fact that we can no longer tell the difference between what's right and what's easy. because everybody in the world wants to make it easy for us. That's the guy that owns the e-commerce website that wants you to sell your pictures online. He's selling ease. Look, they can order, the money goes to you, the thing goes to the lab, you never have to lift your finger, you can go golfing. Sounds great, isn't it? Is it right? No, absolutely not. In every experience from myself and from other people that I've talked to, if you want to kill your business as fast as possible, the thing you should do is put your work online for sales. And I know every time I make that statement, somebody out there is going to say, oh, yeah, well, I do it and I make lots of money. Yeah, okay, fine. I bet you don't make nearly as much money as you should be if you did it right. Pricing is the next big thing. A lot of photographers get in with the wrong strategy. They think that they're going to start their business by being low priced and escalate their prices over time and build market share. That's a recipe for disaster. We've covered that in other presentations as well. It doesn't take a brain to sell gasoline for $1. You'll have cars lined up around and around the block trying to buy gasoline from you right up to the point where you go bankrupt. So being cheap is not the answer. It's the road to failure. So we got to sell it right. We got to sell to the right people. We got to reach those people in the right way. We have to price it correctly so we can stay in business. And finally, we have to deliver the goods with some high-end packaging. If somebody's going to pay $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 for their order, they don't want it to come in a brown paper bag. And I've seen that. I've been in studios where somebody's handing over an order of prints in a brown paper, well, a brown manila envelope, not a paper bag, I guess. But you know what I mean. So the sales cycle, doing what's right, getting sales the way sales get done. As I've just stated, putting images on the web for orders, no, you got to resist the urge. And any arguments, oh, my clients are out of town or whatever, you got to learn to get past that. There's a way of handling out of town clients. But if they were prepared to come to your studio, unless you're a destination photographer down in the Caribbean or something, there's no way that they can't come back to your studio and view the images. Show the images in your office. But if you don't cull them down, if you took 200 images of a family portrait because you were struggling because the kids were just rotten and you had to take frame after frame just to get, don't cull them down. Say, okay, here's the 200 I picked, go to it. Well, you're going to lose everybody. That's just too overwhelming. You can't do it. You got to cull them down. You got to get them down to the prime images that they're going to want to buy. So any lazy road, the minute it seems like it's saving effort or saving work, it's probably bad for you. We have to sell our work. And the act of selling is a skill all by itself. Lots of cool things around, isn't there? I've done them. I've got iPads. I've tried web galleries. Smartphones are damn cool. But if you're trying to use these devices as sales tools, not for acquiring clients, that's marketing, but for selling clients, to do proofing on an iPad or a phone is just disaster. You're going to get nothing. You're going to get that type of customer, and I'm sure you've all had this phone call saying, how much for a CD of all the images? Well, those are the people we don't want to talk to. Don't try and impress people with how with it you are. Don't drop technology terms like you're a programmer. You're a photographer. You're an artist. If you're impressed by technology, you just might be in the wrong business. Maybe you should go sell iPads or something. So anyways, passive selling versus making sales. Learning to sell is a skill. I have seen some of the worst photographer salespeople, and I might be one of them. I have a bit of an attitude from time to time, but it goes beyond that. It goes beyond that to the point where I firmly believe that the photographer should not be the salesperson. And there's an emotional reason why this is true. A lot of photographers, a lot of artists are insecure about what they've done. So when they go to the customer and they start showing their work and they're a little bit nervous, it's because they're looking for confirmation. They're looking for approval. The sales room is not where you get that. You can't be hoping that the customer's impressed. You got to come across as if they are impressed. If you have a salesperson do that, a salesperson can talk in positive terms that you can't without seeming ignorant or immodest. Salesperson can say, "Oh, look at this one. Didn't they do a great job on that?" Because people are worried about themselves. You know how very few people, except maybe the drop dead gorgeous people of the world, most of us don't like looking at pictures of ourselves. So we're nervous. The customer is looking for reinforcement. And if you're looking for reinforcement too, you're in a bad space, man. The salesperson can help put the client at ease that their pictures really are good. Because remember too, that most people have a false impression of what they look like. They've built it in their minds. They don't see themselves until they look in a mirror, and then they turn a blind eye sometimes. So they look at their pictures and they're thinking, "Oh, I look fat. Oh, look at that chin. Oh, look at that." And they're kind of picking themselves apart a little bit. So another reason why the salesperson has to reinforce them to realize that these pictures are really good. But an even better way is if they've invited some friends along. This is the absolute best thing that you can hope for, because the friends know this person for who they are. They don't have any false expectations. So when they see a beautiful picture of their best friend, they're going to tell them that. They'll ooh and ah, and that's just supporting your whole sales cycle. And this is why we want to get people back in the studio rather than looking at a web gallery online. We don't want them sitting alone at night, picking their images apart and getting all depressed. We want them in the studio with their friends so that they get the positive reinforcement. The pictures are beautiful. We're not telling them a lie. They are beautiful. We just have to let the person know that that's true. They should never be seeing their pictures on their own for the first time. Now we need to think about the changes in our industry, the photographic debate of the decade or the next 2 decades, which is simply, should we sell the digital files? And if so, at what price? Now we all beat up on the freelance photographer that shoots a gig for $84, family portrait in the park, $84, get all your images on a CD. Well, no, we hate that, and we should hate that. But we also have to be wise. I think the biggest problem in the industry right now is traditional photographers are trying to defend a position that's indefensible. For 100 years, or almost 100 years, we've been selling prints. And somebody made the mistake 5, 6, 7 decades ago to make our pricing based on the size of the print. So a 5x7 should sell for more than a 4x5 or 4x6, and an 8x10 should sell for more, when really the difference in the piece of paper has nothing to do with it. We never should have based our pricing that way. Maybe in the case of wall portraits where there is a significant difference in cost, but everything else is just garbage. My price list for years now has been everything 8x10 and smaller is all the same price. And I'm about to make another step. Think about the ramifications of doing this. We don't print anything smaller than 11x14. You can't buy an 8x10. You can't buy a 5x7. Nobody wants them. We're trying to sell them. We want to sell them, but our customer doesn't want to buy them. What we should be selling is imagery. You know, I've told this in many presentations too, and this is actually true. This happened years ago, years and years, like 20 years ago. And I was in a bad mood one day, and the phone rang, I picked it up, and it's somebody asking, how much is an 8x10? They wanted a family portrait. How much are your 8x10s? And I kind of lost a little bit. I mean, I wasn't yelling or screaming, but I was snarky. And I said, family portraits are $1,000. Prints are free. I was lying. But now, 20 years later, I'm kind of thinking that's what we should have been doing all along. It should never have been about the cost of the piece of paper. It should always have been about the photographic art. And we're only starting to realize that as an industry now. Too bad it didn't happen decades ago. We wouldn't be in the mess that we're in today. So we're entering into a digital world. We don't like it. We can't stop it. And we're stupid if we continue to try and beat our customers over the head saying, you can't get digital from us. We sell prints and that's it. Well, we got to get on board with the fact that the art of selling is selling to people who want to buy your product. So we have to go digital, but at what price? I mean, I came up through the era. I remember doing family portraits. One particular, I don't know why this one sticks in my mind. It was somebody's 50th anniversary, and I had to go out to their house, and there was a bunch of people there, and we got tremendous orders. You know, there was really one family group picture with the whole kit and caboodle. They ordered like 24 8x10s. Well, we're not seeing that kind of business very much anymore. I suppose somewhere it'll happen. But again, it's the exception, not really the rule. So we've got to find a way for compensating the fact that for years now, people have bought a single 8x10 and taken it somewhere to illegally scan it. And there's not really a lot we can do about that. We can howl at the moon, and the moon won't change course either. So we want to give them what they want to buy. And I have said this to people right to their face. When I tell them that a digital image is X number of dollars, and I know they're going to fall out of their seat because they're thinking the CD of all the images, and I'm thinking, no, this is one. And I explained to them, I said, you know, it's not about the cost of the CD. That's $1. It's about the fact that this is how I earn a living. This is my skill I'm charging you for. I'm not charging you for the CD. So we have to partially educate the customer, I guess. Or we have to come up with a way. I know some photographers have done this. They've gone ahead and said, okay, order a print and I'll give you the digital file. Okay, well, there's some logic in that. I think it's a hybrid, it's a crossbred approach. And I think it may work for the next few years, but I think where the industry is going is beyond that. It's going to become, I'm pretty sure, a digital only industry, and I'm gearing up to make that work for me. So including the CD of unretouched images, yeah, not so much. What does the customer want? And let's help guide them towards a solution they didn't even know they wanted. And I've said this 100 times before, I'll repeat it again here. Learning what it is a customer wants is kind of important. The story is a guy walks into a hardware store and asks for a drill bit. What does the client want? What does the customer want? He doesn't want a drill bit. The customer wants a hole. The drill bit is just how he gets there. So quite often, our customers that come to us, to our photo studios, don't really know what they want. So we've got to guide them toward and help them see what it is they want. So the classic portrait studio, large wall prints for home decor, desk and gift size prints for personal enjoyment and family galleries, wallet size prints to send out to the family. The wallets are dead. Who the heck has a wallet-sized picture anymore? Not anybody that I've seen. What's the first thing somebody wants to show a picture of their kid? They pull out their cell phone and show them a picture. So if you're selling wallets, I don't know why. They're still in my price list. I just don't sell them. It's because I haven't redesigned my price list in a while. So my bullet point is mistakes photographers make in assessing the marketplace. Digital content does not replace the classic model, but supplements it. So this is kind of the buy a print and I'll give you the file. But like I said, what about this? What if we went with something more like, I don't print anything below 11 by 14. We're an art gallery studio. You buy a 20 by 30 portrait for the living room, I'll give you the file. And believe me, what they're going to pay for that portrait is more than it. And that's got to be an important point, is they're not going to buy a bunch of copies of that 20 by 30. They're not going to buy half a dozen copies anyways. So what are we losing? If we give them a high-res digital file, we're losing nothing. Now, they say, you know, I really want the file, but I don't want a wall print. Well, fine, pay the same anyways. Because again, it's not about the piece of paper. So that's the interim model I'm going to in the next version of my price list, which is coming out very shortly. I'm still actually working on my 2015 version, but that's about to change. So you've got to navigate this confusing world of digital prints and see where you want to be. Where I want to be, I'm partially there, but I'd like to push it further, is selling prints, large wall prints that are truly art, printed on exclusive papers, magical to look at, magical to touch. That's where I want to be. That's what I would like to sell. And I'm going to ignore all the customers who don't want that and look for the customers who do want that. Part of achieving the right kind of customers is pre-qualification. So they call, you're interested, you want to find out what kind of customer they are. Are they in our rose zone? So we ask them some questions. What is your budget like? And give them some samples, price ranges. You can say something like, well, most of our clients for a family of 4 wind up spending between $900 and $1,500. If they laugh and get mad, good. Have a nice life. Goodbye. I try and keep a positive attitude. Never diss them. Never get, even though inside you might be thinking, oh, you loser, get out of my life. They might be a potential sale in the future, because look what happens here. This generation of, let's say, high school seniors, they've come up in a digital world. That's the world they know. They don't know about wall portraits at this point in their life. These people are going to become young brides and young grooms at some point, and they'll start to understand. Then they're going to start having a family, and they'll start to, as they get older, they'll understand a little bit more. So even though at the age of 18, they got mad when we told them how much they're going to have to spend and thought we were crooks and we should all be imprisoned, over the years, they're going to learn how foolish they were. So by not dissing them, by not feeling them like making them feel like total jerks, we can still recruit a future sale. I'm doing a presentation. I've been working on it for some time, called the Invisible Sales Funnel. And this is kind of what I'm talking about. We create an invisible sales funnel that circulates around us, that we don't know about. We can't see them, we can't measure them, but they're out there and they're waiting and saving their money for the time when they can buy from us. Anyways, I'm off on a tangent. So we treat everybody with extreme politeness and blah, blah, blah. But what we have done is we want the sale today, and we're looking for the people who are not afraid of that answer. Now, we might have several price ranges to give them. Say, well, we have a basic package, studio package, which most people wind up spending in the 400 to 500 range, and then we have this, and that's 900 to 1500. Then we have the other thing that's 3000 or whatever. If you're talking to those clients and they haven't sworn at you yet, those are the clients we want. They're the Rose clients. And if they can't deal with those prices, if somehow we think, and I've made this mistake, think I'll just get them in the door. I'll do a really good job and then they'll buy. Well, that used to work. I don't think it's working anymore. And it creates a little bit of animosity. So much for repeat sales. So let's not even go there. Let's get rid of them right off the initial phone call. But again, we have to help them imagine what it is they really want. And the rose-colored clients are going to be okay with that. Sales drives our company and our entire economy. Nothing happens until a sale is made. After sale is made, our whole economy kicks into gear. So we have to do whatever it takes to get this done. Companies invest millions in their marketing and sales programs. We have to do it too. Now, there's all sorts of ways that you can approach this, but if we're dealing with the high end of the market, they expect some high-end service. So what about this? Say, okay, you've got the price range. Can I drop around and I want to look at your house and help you design where you're going to hang your portraits. And then take a little point and shoot camera or your cell phone camera, whatever, and shoot the areas, their living room, their hallways, anywhere where a portrait might hang. And then get the session done. Because maybe you're going to do the session right in their home. Maybe it's at your studio. Maybe it's at a park, whatever. But these pictures are going to come into play later on. After the shoot, we bring them back in the studio to look at the samples, and we want to create a really compelling presentation to seal the deal, to make the sales. We already know they have the ability and desire to spend the money. We just want to make it easy for that to happen by helping them visualize. We want to create a narrative that supports their buying decisions. The psychology of sales is very simple. There are two kinds of people. The people that everybody wants to brag. The customers we don't want like to brag about how little they paid. I got this. I found this in so-and-so. I paid only $2 for it. Isn't it awesome? Those are not our people. Our rose-colored clients want to brag about how much they pay. Here's a good example I overheard a few years ago while shooting a wedding in Scottsdale. It was a very high-end wedding. I don't know what the parents were worth, but it was obvious that it was a lot. And where the wedding's over, it's at the cocktail hour. I'm running around taking candid pictures of the guests, and I happen to be near the bride's father. Now, the bride, I knew from the minute I saw that dress she was wearing that it was something special. I don't know anything about dresses, so I can't tell you why it was special. You could just see it. And then, so I had thought that all day. I've been thinking that's a remarkable dress. And now I'm at the cocktail hour, and the bride's father is only a few feet away, and he's talking to some friends of his, and I can't help but overhear him say, and he's talking about the dress, saying, yeah, well, we couldn't really find anything local. This is Scottsdale, Phoenix. I mean, it's a fairly affluent area. We couldn't find anything local, so yeah, we had to fly to New York and get it, and it was a little pricey. It was $7,000 for the dress and blah, blah, blah. Well, so it's $7,000 for the dress, plus they had to fly the bride and probably her bridesmaid and her mom and everybody to New York and put them up at hotels while they went shopping for a dress. So he wasn't bragging about how little he spent. He was bragging about how much he spent. And this is an important thing to understand in our rose-colored clients. Do not offer a discount to a rose-colored client. That's not what they want. In fact, my belief is, as I say in the bullet, my belief is our pricing should have an ouch factor. They should flinch just a little bit when they see the price. Not run screaming out, but flinch. Okay. And that's all right. And we don't have to discount it. They want to be able to brag about things. It's all part of what we used to call keeping up with the Joneses or beating the Joneses. You know, if you're young, you probably haven't heard that expression, but it was all about bragging rights, how your house was better, your car was better, and it's everything. Your trophy wife was better, all sorts of things. But never mind what we're calling it. People in that market want to brag about how much they paid. So keep that in mind as you're doing your prices. Which brings me to the point. If you're thinking I'm going to show you a price list and it's going to have all my prices and you're just going to be able to copy them, you're missing the point of this presentation. I am going to show you a price list and you are going to see what I charge for some things. Don't copy it. That's not the point. I mean, I'm not shy. I'd send you PDF files on my price list, but I don't want people to just copy it and say, well, if it works for Carrie, it'll work for me. You have to assess your own business, your own quality factors, your own market, your ability to market, and your sales abilities to be able to come up with a price. So that's going to be both the good part of this presentation and for some of you, maybe the bad part. Because if you're just waiting to the point where I give you the free price list, you might as well leave now. So sales room is pivotal to building our success. If you, as I've said several times now, you put images online, do it after they've come and placed their order at your studio. Also, do it fast. Don't make them wait too long. Don't make them wait 3 weeks for the proofs to be ready because they'll lose that excitement. In the 7 days following the shoot, that's the peak time. So we do want to turn them over fairly quickly, but we're not a drive-through restaurant. They don't have to be ready at the end for viewing at the end of the shoot. Book a time, have them come back. Don't make it too far down the road or you'll lose momentum. Create an atmosphere of serenity and wellness. I've known studios that even have little ovens in the studio, and before a customer sales session, they bake cookies. What in the world smells better than freshly baked cookies? We have to put them in the right frame of mind. If they're coming in and they're panicked about time, or they're panicked about this, or they got the weight of the world on their shoulders, they're not going to buy. So we've got to help them, put them in that frame of mind and remove the stress where they're open to spending some money. Have a salesperson do the presentation, not the photographer. As I said before, the photographer can't really sell his work without seeming like a jerk. A salesperson should be there doing that. You could drop in. Your salesperson is manning that, and you drop in as the artist. Say, oh my God, I'm so glad to see you again, blah, blah, blah. I hope you're enjoying the pictures. I love taking them. And, you can do all of the political stuff. But the actual image by image sale, I think, should be a salesperson. Pay him a salary or pay him on commission, whatever you want to do. It's worth its weight in gold. You have to show big to sell big. And we've known this for years. You can't sell a large 30 by 40 wall portrait off a thumbnail on the internet. Projection has been a popular way for many years now, or large screen TV. Have lots of samples around. for them to look at and understand. So when I talk about archival paper, and when I talk about all the special things I'm going to do for them, they get to see it. Not just have you say, imagine it looks like this. So whatever your sales room is, here's one from a number of years ago where we used a large screen TV. I got to tell a little story. You see in behind that TV, there's a large opening, and we used to put a projector on this table, project through that opening. There were chairs on the other side of that divider, and people would sit and watch, and I'd project from, that was my laptop I used to project the images. And then I realized that the projector wasn't working anymore when I'd find the clients trying to twist around in their seats and look at my laptop screen rather than the projected image, because my projector was old and I guess it was getting dimmer, and they didn't like that. So my next move was, okay, let's go with a flat screen TV, which you see here. We went to a bigger one after that, and then a bigger one, and so on. But people actually liked it. What would happen is, where some of you know Marianne, that's the lady sitting at the table, I would bring the clients right there, right where she's sitting, up that close. We had chairs, we put them there, and they looked at it. They could reach out and touch the screen if they wanted to. And it still gave us pretty much the same effect as what we were getting through projecting. And we could see the images side by side. The software we used, we could go back and forth and compare image to image, and they liked that. I asked people when I first went to this system if they thought it was okay, and everybody said, oh yeah, I love that. That was so easy to do. And it doesn't have to be expensive software. That's kind of your choice if you want. But here's something that we've been doing lately. In fact, this is a little cell phone picture from my old cell phone, iPhone 4S. And a reveal wall, except I didn't have the wall ready. So in this case, it became a reveal sofa. That was my first one. The reveal wall, I don't know who came up with the idea. I know Sue Bryce, who I respect very much, has been popularizing it. So I thought I'd give it a try. This was our very first reveal wall from a boudoir session. So we had prepared, I think it was in total, about 30 images that we printed to 8 by 10. We put them in these beautiful white archival mats. And each of those mats was put into an acetate sleeve to protect it. And the trick to this is exactly the opposite of what we've always done with showing proofs. We've always wanted to do it one at a time, so their attention dwells on one image. But the reveal wall, they see everything at once. And believe me, it's overpowering. So we arranged, when this lady came in to look at her prints, we arranged that she couldn't see them. We could do the meet and greet. They'd come in, and she came with her husband. Hi, how are you? We do all of that, and then we walk them into the room where they can see the prints, and it's pow. It's explosion, usually tears right at that point. It's quite a powerful display. And then what we do is we have these white, remember those white cotton negative gloves? Well, I bought a bunch of them, got a whole bunch of them, and I would hand them both a pair of white cotton gloves, saying, please just put these on before you handle them. Would it hurt the acetate sleeve? Absolutely not. But what did it just do is it reinforced in their mind that this isn't something that you throw in the garbage or throw on a desk somewhere until you get around to hanging it. This is something important, and it's going to cost a lot of money. It's worth something. So I have to print all these 8 by 10s. I have to buy the mats. Is it more expensive? Is there a danger that I might not make a sale? Yeah, there's a danger, but not a very big danger if I've done all the other steps correctly. If I've recruited my rose-colored clients, and if my work is good, the presentation will sell. So I don't mind the fact that it costs some money to put this display together, and there's a risk they might not buy them all. I print my own 8 by 10s right in studio, and then of course they can buy frames. They can buy a beautiful leather box to put all of these in. There's all sorts of extras. I can still sell them on top of this. So the end result is quite explosive. It's up to you whether you try the reveal wall or not. And again, another reason why you should not be putting images into an online web gallery. So setting the stage for the sale, removing sticker shock right from the initial consultation. Very important. We print up a price list. It's, so I don't know, 16, 17 pages long. And you can see, here's the front cover of it. You can see this little square white area where it says your viewing date and time is. So we hand them this book to take home right at the photo session. We book their appointment, their viewing appointment. We write it right on the front of the price list so they don't forget. We make a point saying this is your one and only viewing. You can't come back 15 times. You can't come back next week with your husband or your wife or whatever. This is it. This is your appointment. Keep it. And we have programs where they come back for other sessions. So we even have that little extra place that says your next session date is such and such. But they take this home with them so they can study it. Some people don't study it. That's fine. Some people do. And I've already emailed questions before their viewing appointment. So software for image presentation, Pro Select is a little expensive, but very, very good. You can do it in Lightroom. I've also used one called ACDC. And the one I actually use most is the free software that came with my Canon camera. Zoom browser, it's called in Windows, and image browser in the Mac version. Free for Canon users and surprisingly awesome. You want to use Lightroom? That's fine. It doesn't matter. It all does the same thing. But now we get into the part where we're going to help them visualize. So I have this little furniture set. I could substitute, if I really wanted to ramp this up for a high-end client, the images that I took of their living room, I could create samples of how the wall portraits are going to look in their actual space with their actual furniture. That's where those images would come back into play right now. You want to help them visualize what it is that they're doing with you. Now, what I did is I created a file. I'm going to bring up Photoshop for a second. I created a PSD file. Oh, I thought Photoshop was loaded. Okay, this is going to take a second while Photoshop loads. Bear with us. My computer, it was loaded. My computer crashed like 15 minutes before showtime, so I had to reboot, and I forgot to reload Photoshop. Bad me. This is the latest version of Photoshop. It is the Creative Cloud 2015.5 edition. That's currently available. And I've got a number of plugins, so it's taking, I'm sorry, this shouldn't have happened. Maybe I have to edit this part out. Okay, so this is the PSD file that I created. And you can see over here in the layers palette, I have all sorts of different combinations. The ones that's showing right now is this one down at the bottom right, 120 by 24 and 4 8 by 10s. So I could have this either with my sample living room as it is here, or I could show it with their actual living room picture. And if I really wanted to go to town, I could drop little images into those boxes. But I have other kinds too. I have, here's 420 by 20s. Here's a different one. And here's a different one. And so on. I've got all of these different things that they can visualize. Combinations, wall galleries, and of course I've got the individual prints. Here's a 30 by 40. And I do it in proportion. These little boxes that I've created are amongst themselves accurate in size representation. 30 by 15, all sorts of different things. So I created this file. It's really easy for me to drop some of their images from their shoot into this and help them visualize how these are going to look in their home. And if they say, well, I just want an 8 by 10 or a 5 by 7, I say, fine, that's how it's going to look. It's going to look ridiculous. So it really kind of gets away from the small print thing. I tell them if they want to put a photo on a desk, the only use that I think a 5 by 7 is good for today is that, you know, you want to put it on your desk at work and it's a nice family portrait. Okay, I get that. So I'll sell you a 5 by 7. But for the house, I want you to be buying this kind of stuff. So if you're a gold member, I know many of you are here tonight. If you're a gold member, go to Photography Schoolhouse, log in, go into the media library. You could download this PSD file right from the media library. So we're going to help them visualize what it is they want to buy. Occasionally, I do products up on speculation. If I like something and I think it's going to sell, I picked this image because it has a story. This young girl, and I think she was 14-ish, I forget exactly. She's a dancer, she's a singer. She already had a CD out at the time that we did this. Came in with her mom the day of the shoot, and there was something going on. There was some tension between them. It was palpable in the air. And we went ahead and did the shoot, and I did this one up. And I thought, okay, I'm going to do a 20 by 30. Going to get it mounted, going to put it on display for when they come in to look at the prints. And it was in my office. I had a spotlight on it. It looked remarkable. Just it was in a glossy thing with, you know, how glossy surfaces bring out the richness of the color. And spotlight from the track lighting I had in the ceiling. It looked gorgeous. So the mom comes in, sees this for the first time, has a breakdown right there. There's no way she's leaving without that print under her arm. Now, it's risky to do spec work like this, but sometimes it pays off in more ways. Not only was it a sale of a 20 by 30, but it was a customer that's going to remember me for life because I connected with her. She's having trouble with her teenage daughter. Like, that's never happened before. And this was like the justification she was looking for to make all her work and effort and anguish and heartache worthwhile. And so it really punched through a message. So you can do that. Shoot on spec. It's good from time to time. So that's the PSD file I just showed you. Salesperson should be confident, enthusiastic, warm, able to help the client overcome their self-doubts. As I said before, this is not the right time for the photographer to be seeking reassurance. Salesperson has to spark the feeling, but the family and friends that are there with them, hopefully, reinforce it. These are all things that cannot be done online. Online is the cheap, easy way. And if you want to run a cheap, easy business, I guess it might be the answer for you. But I'm assuming that we're all here because we want to run a professional business, make some money, pay our bills, take a vacation from time to time. The other thing I've noticed when I've experimented with online sales, they take forever to make a decision because they can't make a decision. So they postpone and they postpone. They postpone so much that they lose the impulse buy. Excuse me. They don't lose it. You do. They lose the impulse. You lose the buy. So these are all reasons why no internet. Reduce the number of decisions they have to make. Don't show hundreds of images. Call them down. Get only the best. Remind them that they are buying furniture, not pictures. No, they can't come back another day with a spouse or a friend. This is their one and only viewing appointment. Once they've made their purchase, then we might put them on an online web gallery for out-of-town friends. Excuse me. That's the only time I would ever do this. I've altered what I do on Facebook. I no longer put teasers on Facebook to drive viewers. And why? Because there's anticipation that builds when they're coming in to see their pictures. And there's something special that happens the moment they lay their eyes on them. If I've already spilled my cards by putting teasers on Facebook, I've just squandered that moment. So I'll still do Facebooking, but only after the selling session. I also show them Animoto slideshows, more images, album designs. You know, we have to sell. We're going to sell all our extras too. So, hey, look at me. My packages include all the images on CD, and then I never want to see you again. Look at the benefits. I don't do any post-production. I don't do any album design. Just take your stuff and get out of my life. And then the next thing you're saying is, hey, look, Ma, I'm out of business. It's a lot harder to find a new customer than it is to get an existing customer to buy over and over again. We want to recruit those customers, not blow them away. I'm running a bit long, so I'm going to pick up speed. Pricing your work. How much is your product worth? Many people have tried a formula. I talked to one photographer who was very successful, by the way. So it made my argument kind of hard, but what the hell. His belief was 4 times the cost. Just take whatever something costs you, multiply by 4 and call it good. I don't believe that. I don't think that is the formula. I don't think there is a formula, and I'm going to explain that in a second. So what is your true cost, by the way? So buy an 8x10 from a lab for $3. How do you account for your time? Who accounts for the retouching that has to be done? And so on and so on. You get where I'm going with all of that. Consider your time and other factors. A recent study of over 6,000 photographers. Editing and downloading, 6 hours per week. Photoshop, 25 hours. Administrative, 10 hours. Social media, 11. Selling, 5. Blah, blah, blah. 61 hours a week just for the owner. Add your staff, your rent, your mortgage, your power, your telephone, internet, and your taxes. All of those things have to be factored into your selling price. So what is the cost of an 8x10? $3 for the print, $8 for retouching, $10 for overhead, package and delivery, $4. Estimated cost is $25. So your 8x10 multiplied by 4 is $100. How many photographers are getting $100 for their 8x10s? Probably not too many of you. Some I'm sure you are, but not everybody. And it really kind of ignores the most fundamental thing. The first principle of sales is a product is worth what people will pay for it. I say a box of cornflakes only cost them 10 cents to make, but it sells for $5. They didn't sell it for 4 times. They didn't sell it for 40 cents. They sold it for $5. Why? Because that's what we'll pay for a box of cornflakes. Things are priced based on what people will pay. So this is where you have to start analyzing who you are as a photographer, the level that you're at in terms of quality and art, your local market and economy, how successful you've been with your marketing in attracting the rose-colored clients, and so on and so on. That's why you can't just take a price list and say, okay, I'll do that. The prices should come with an ouch factor. It should be a little bit more than they thought. Not a lot, not, you know. If it's 10 times more than they thought, then our marketing failed. We brought in the wrong customer. But even the rose-colored client should flinch a little bit. So that being said, my price list is more than just a list of prices. It's a booklet. I put a few pages on these slides, not much, but I've got my ironclad guarantee, which I honor. You must be absolutely thrilled with the portraits. I didn't make this line up, by the way, but I use it. You must be absolutely thrilled with the portraits we create for you and your family. Love them or you get every penny back. No questions asked and no hard feelings. And we stand by that. And we've never had to do it, by the way, but we would if somebody complained. So we get into all of that. Policies, the viewing appointments, confirming appointments, payments, what kind of, do we take credit cards, debit cards, do we ship? We had everything's here. Everything's all spelled out for them. Frequently asked questions, and so on. Then, don't bother looking at the prices. I have a page for gallery wraps, and I have a page for just individual prints and for digital originals. So right now I'm charging $90 for a high-res digital file, except I offer the digital 12-pack at $8.95. I offer collections, which is what, this matches the thing that I was projecting. Then, a purse album, an accordion brag book, a hardcover album, all that. And these are just some sample pages. I want to wrap up, and like I said, I apologize for running a little bit late, but I want to wrap up with the idea that if somebody spent a lot of money with you, they should walk out of your building with something substantial, something pretty. So the packaging is really important. And there's some nice options out there. I don't know if Marathon is still around. I don't seem to hear much from Marathon these days, but they used to do up some specialty packaging, and you'll see some on Etsy and all sorts of different places. I use, who do I use? Ross Studio Supply. So I've got some nice, colorful shopping bags. Everything comes in a shopping bag. I've got them in all sorts of different sizes. They come, in my case, I kind of like the idea in the top picture with the colored tissue paper, out the top, and we do that. So you package it. Make them feel good about their purchase. They get to take home the white cotton gloves. I bought a pile of them. They're still for sale. I didn't even think I'd find them. I found them at B&H in New York. Rice Studio Supply in the States. And I know that they have a Canadian distribution too, in Toronto. GTA Labs represents their product line. So they've always got specials and all sorts of really cool stuff on. You can check them out. They're not paying for this. I'm giving them a freebie. I should charge them for this, maybe. So that's it. That's my belief in pricing. You've got a lot to consider. You can't be shy of the high price. You have to tie your selling, and that's a skill that you have to acquire or hire. You have to tie your selling into your marketing to get those rose-colored clients that we talked about. So some of the other things I referred to in this presentation, recordings are available on YouTube. Join us on YouTube. Do a search for Carrie Allen. That's my name. Look at the spelling. It's kind of odd. Photography Schoolhouse channel. Subscribe, and you get all the stuff that we post, which is a lot these days. And if you're a gold member, if you're not a gold member, you should be. You can join the PSH Gold Member program. Right now, on the annual one, we're having we just actually finished a 10th anniversary sale, but we're extending it for a little while because actually the whole year is our 10th anniversary. So join as a gold member now for $99.95. That's almost half price. And get $200 worth of other things we're going to give you that you can download instantly, twice as much as the whole year costs you. And then you get all the other things our gold membership brings. So pshgold.com. Don't be afraid to go there. Spend some money. If there's any questions, I'll hang around for a minute. You've been a pretty quiet audience, but I want to thank you for coming. Hope you enjoyed it. If you're part of our YouTube audience and weren't here live to be able to ask questions, join us next time. The whole idea of doing these live is so that if I didn't cover a topic, you can ask me in the chat window. So with that, I'm going to call it a good night. Thank you all for coming, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.